They're quite difficult locations to film at because it's quite difficult to get all the equipment actually up onto the moors. So it involves lots of quad bikes and trailers and people and, just quite an effort to get there and get out of there as well. Obviously, lots of things set on the moors, but also Wuthering Heights, the house, as everyone knows, sits on top of the moors. But despite looking far and wide, it was impossible to find an actual Wuthering Heights exterior location house that actually sat on the moors themselves.
Wuthering Heights, the house, is the main character in the story, isn't it? It's just like Heathcliff, really. You can't find a house like that on the moors. They don't exist. They just don't. Nobody builds a house in the wilderness on the moors, So we found a fantastic house in Keighley, I think, which is East Riddlesden, for the exteriors, which has got a fantastic sort of heightened Gothic character to it, really. Found a fabulous house we can shoot the interiors in, which is Oakwell, which is near Batley, I think. And then we found some fantastic moorland that we intend to put the house on by magic of computer graphics.
We built our own gates at the exterior house location, which we filmed through the gates of the house. And then when we went to the moors south of Sheffield, we took those same gates and walls with us and sort of sat them slap bang on top of the moors. There was no house there, obviously. And we filmed various scenes of people leaving and arriving and carriages leaving and arriving. And in a number of those shots, we will actually, in post-production, place our Wuthering Heights house on top of the moors.
Well, the riding scenes, I was actually quite relieved that you didn't actually catch me being thrown off the horse by my horse Castle. I should have known by his name that he was going to be a bit feisty. No, I do a bit of riding anyway, and I think that to sell the story, that I think the producers and the director seem to jump on the fact that I could actually navigate a horse.
Wonderful, yeah. Great.
Sometimes you need a bit of time on a horse to kind of get to know a horse, and for a horse to not want to throw you off its back, really.
What we do is, several weeks down the line, we put the carriage inside this big black tent, which gives us control of the light and hopefully stops us hearing the rain, which is a bit tricky at the moment, as you can see. And the carriage just sits there without any horses, and we just film all the dialogue. Two men stand by the carriage, rocking it a little bit, making us think we're on the move, and that's the idea, really. A bit strange, but perfectly normal to us.
Yes, please, John.
Sound speed!
5:44, take 4.
And action! We had to shoot the scene in the carriage with me, Heathcliff and Hareton, where we're just coming back from Linton's funeral, and we had just cloth sort of covering the carriage, and it was just pouring torrential rain.
Cut! Brilliant.
We were quite lucky because we were inside the carriage, so we kept warm and dry, but I think all the crew were getting soaked.
I'm sorry.
I am sorry. The things I said to you, I did not mean it.
Well, the weather's been a nightmare, really. We've had rain and wind since we've been here. It's only the last few days we're now having some warm weather. But that was difficult because you need to keep the wigs just get blown about. And it's OK to let things look natural, but they looked like they just had a plug in to like 2,000 watts or something, especially when we're up on the crags on the top of the moors. Was whether the wigs would stay on in all the rain that we had.
Cut.
Go!
They all got windburnt. That was the worst thing. You wouldn't think, in the weather that we were having, which was atrocious at this time of year, that they would be affected. But of course, after day one on the moors, everybody was beacon red.
And action.
Yeah, it's meant to be summer. What happened to summer? No, it's rained and rained and rained. But ironically, the days we needed rain, we didn't have any. Had to get rain machines.
That's a good gate. Cheers, Tom! Gate's clear. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, guys.
Turn over.
Sound speed.
73, take 1.
And action.
It's always a pleasure to be involved in a classic adaptation of one of the great British novels. But Wuthering Heights is something that people think that they know the story, but actually this particular adaptation takes loads of the themes of the book and mixes it about. It's just a pleasure, really, to do such a meaty role.
How dare you!
Get out of my house! Get out! Do not bring him near me, Nelly. Not unless you want to see me dash his brains out.
Oh, it sounds cliche, but it is a total dream come true, really. Especially as, for me, obviously coming from the northeast and getting to play such an iconic northern character as well.
Hindley?
I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think there's been another northern Cathy before, so it's quite nice to be representing the north.
I was thinking in my head that maybe she hits him first and grabs him and then sort of gets to this bit here.
In preparation for a fight scene, Rebecca Knight and Tom Payne, who play Catherine and Linton, rehearsed the action with stunt coordinator Mark Cass and director Koki Gedroich.
I think, it's a lot of two-handed like that, screaming in anger,
Because he's so ineffectual and so kind of ill.
I mean, I've just had a pretty big shock. He's just said that I'm going to be forced to marry him in the morning, which, I'm not prepared to do, and I want to get out, but I don't know how I'm going to do that. So I just kind of, how Wild Street comes out.
And my character's quite incapacitated with my tuberculosis, and it's really, it should come across as really quite shocking, because I'm really at that point kind of half dead, really.
You dicko, it doesn't look you before my father!
Well, I take it from this touching scene that you have made your offer of marriage, and young Miss Linton is expressing some misgivings.
I loved it, actually, and towards the end I was really... There's ghosts in this place. Or bad set dressing. There you go. Wuthering Heights. Cathy's in the house.